Hello everybody, Greg Spero here. Very excited to welcome you to this special live stream. What you're hearing in the background right now is Miguel Atwood-Ferguson and myself on a new track that was just released a couple days ago. We've got a really special show for you today. Whew. So that part of it, I don't think that part of it that you're hearing now was actually released yet. But it will be soon. And I'm going to now hand it over to our Zoom here. Oh, there's Miguel. Hey, Miguel. And there's Simon Rentner. And Olivia Hern is also here with us.
Hi.
So,
Hey, what's up, everybody? Well, welcome to this one-of-a-kind, unique event for all of us, I feel like. I suppose a question for all of you, you know, the four of us here. There's four of us here, right? Yeah, Greg's in all of us. If Blau can sell his album for $12 million, then what's the original master of Kind of Blue worth?
ooh, good question. Good question. We should get Vince Wilburn on the phone and have a conversation with him about it.
So welcome everybody to Maiden Voyage. And if there are any other official jazz or jazz adjacent NFT drops or celebrations that have happened already or haven't or are about to happen, please hit us up. Let us know, because honestly, we couldn't find any. Right now, we are giving to you at maidenvoyage.io. You can see what may be the first jazz NFT offering, a beautiful animated video featuring Greg Spero, the pianist, violinist Miguel Atwood-Ferguson, and the animator Olivia Hern, and also a full album of duets between Greg Spero and Atwood-Ferguson. And so this Jazz Into the Future live stream will be divided into three parts. First, a conversation with the artist about the work, and then we'll be speaking to Will O'Brien and Patrick Booth Jr. of NFT Oasis. They have started a virtual reality NFT gallery and performance space where people from all over the world have been watching Greg Spero perform over 3 consecutive nights of solo performances that you can go watch. Actually, we're going to be featuring some of that work in this conversation as well. And we're going to actually watch the animation shortly too. So you'll definitely want to stick around to see what these amazing cats are selling. And then at the very end of the panel, we're going to be inviting a star-studded lineup of jazz, influencers, musicians, just brilliant artists, to really ask some of the harder questions around the NFT space. Is it a fad? When will the bubble burst? Will they ever become ecologically sustainable? And maybe the biggest question of them all, is it even realistic that jazz artists and creative artists can thrive in our what seems to be a current NFT wasteland of pop stars, influencers, and billionaires? So hopefully we can answer some of those questions, but that's coming up at 1:40 Pacific time. We'll have the founder of Rope-A-Dope Records joining us, Louis Marks, and see what he's up to in the NFT space, along with other jazz artists that we love, Oran Etkin, Ben Allison, Casa Overall. We even have an invitation out to the one and only Herbie Hancock himself. Maybe he can drop by as well. But thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Miguel Atwood-Ferguson, Greg Spero, Olivia Hern, for embarking on this maiden voyage together.
Super happy to be here.
So first of all, just talk to me about the work. Let's get out of the NFT conversation. I just want to know about the art itself. How did the collaboration happen? What was the inspiration behind it? Yeah.
So I can definitely speak to that. So Miguel Atwood-Ferguson and I met years ago. It's got to be about 10 years ago, either 9 or 10 years ago when I first moved to LA. and we were connected originally through our love and our passion for this Buddhism, really, mindfulness in general, but we both practice Buddhism via the Soka Gakkai International. So we started out with a strong connection through that, and then eventually we heard each other's music, and we decided we had to play together. And Miguel has since been one of the greatest musical inspirations that I've had, and I feel super lucky to have been able to create with him in these contexts. And this one piece that we released is a very special piece to me. It's completely improvised, it's a special captured moment when souls really connect.
And so it's like a 45-minute improvisation or 30-minute improvisation?
I think it's like 23 minutes or 24 minutes.
Okay.
Something like that. It's not a terribly long improvisation. We actually recorded for hours that day. I've got the full thing, and this one nugget was something that we were like, man, we have to put this out. This is a special situation.
And my understanding is you actually can't listen to the album yet. You can only listen to it by going to maidenvoyage.io and buying the NFT right now is the only way you can listen to the full album right now. And there's only 1,000 copies right now as it stands.
Yeah, that's correct. So this is sort of like the equivalent of a vinyl record for digital. It's an NFT. For those of you who don't know, it's a scarce digital asset. It's housed on the blockchain, so only one person can actually own it, but it can be transferred between people. So we're minting 1,000 copies of this improvisation, and they're currently available at maidenvoyage.io as part of an NFT drop, which we'll tell you a little bit more about, with Olivia Hern, who did the art for it. Olivia's.
Yeah, Olivia. So I think because this is a jazz space, people know who Miguel Atwood-Ferguson is, I'm sure. If you don't, do a Google search. He's basically behind some of the most important compositions in modern music. That's all I need to say. And we got Olivia Hern here. Please tell us about yourself. What are you? What's your story?
What's your deal? I'm Olivia. I am a freelance theatrical designer and animator. And so when the pandemic hit, I started turning way more into digital art. And I had been spending this past year doing various animated music videos and short films for starting with the bands of my friends and working out until I was able to connect to Greg and Miguel to create this really cool project. I myself like to work in theater and film, and I like doing things that feel made by hand but can transcend into like a more digital space. So I personally work with hand-drawn cell animation.
It's like stop animation, like William Kentridge kind of stuff.
Exactly. So being able to transition that handmade thing into something digital that could then be applied into this new digital NFT space felt like a really perfect coincidental marriage.
And so when it came to this specific piece of music, did you choose the section that you wanted to animate, and did you see the images that we're about to witness?
Yeah. Well, Greg showed me the whole piece, and I just sat and listened to it, and when you just listen to music and you close your eyes and you just sort of let all the colors behind your eyes just fly around, or that was my experience at least. And I went and I picked out two of my favorite sections and gave them to Greg, and we agreed on this one because it felt like it had so much height, and there's so many soaring moments and all this texture, and I immediately started to see it as the tumultuous journey of a relationship over time. between two forces, two beings, and then just being them being, you know, pulled apart and pulled together, and, you know, in soaring love and emotion, and being ripped apart and crawling back to each other in these sort of twisting moments of two people who it might not work out for them to be together, and yet they can't really let each other go. And so
I love you, Greg. Don't leave me, Greg.
Miguel.
Yeah, well, clearly I was tapping into something really real here. But that was sort of the image I made for myself, and so I had a lot of fun basically trying to like paint how the song felt and how these two beings felt to me, and I had a lot of fun with it. It was really great.
It was so cool, Olivia. Like the animation, I was completely blown away. I saw what you did for the Heartstrings project. That's how Olivia and I originally met. Was she did an animation for Luke Wagadny and his project The Heartstrings, which is on my Tiny Records label. And I was just like, oh my God, we have to work together because you're just so incredible. And what you did for this, it blew my mind when you, because I had a story in my mind, but it's much more vague, and you codified it into something so specific. It created an entirely new meaning for the piece for me.
What about you, Miguel? Like, what was happening in that moment musically with you and Greg? And like, how did that work with you? Like, why is your chemistry, if I might use that word, right for you creating music like on the fly?
Yeah. Well, so I started classical, like Eastern European classical when I was like 4, and I did that for many years and started writing symphonic music, and it was a very freeing thing once I started getting into improvisatory music, like in high school, and to this day, especially coming out of friendships, being able to improvise with one of the world's greatest musicians, Greg Spero, is it's just an amazing joy, and it's like being lifted up. I mean, he's such a great musician. You know, I was purposely playing some really weird notes because I just wanted to see what he would do with it, and I trust him so much as a being and as an artist. I can do that in a responsible way. But we were talking over the phone and just hanging out for years before we actually made music together. And so we've developed this really deep friendship. And so the music is a reflection of a lot of the conversations that we've had. You know, we share what we're going through and some of the epiphanies that we're having in our lives. And we're trying to break new ground, you know, emotionally and spiritually and artistically. And we spur each other on. And so you can, I can feel that in the music. And so it's supposed to be, it's a cosmic conversation based upon our belief in that, yes, we can keep on expanding, you know, our capacity as a human being, and empathy and compassion. So it's a lot of love there.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of love in the composition, just feeling, like you said, the word empathy. Like, yeah, it's a very, like, it draws you in, and the animation gets you there. Like, how many like actual individual stills are there in that animation, Olivia?
Oh my God, I couldn't even count. The way I work is I draw each frame, but I do it in layers. So I usually do, how long is the song? Like 3 minutes. So that's like 300 frames, but then each frame is like 5 frames.
Wow.
So we'll just chew on that for a second.
Well, right before we watch the actual video itself, so we all get to just enjoy this journey that we've been discussing, I guess the last question I have for you all is, what was then the decision for you guys to come together and do the NFT thing? Like how did that work, and what were your initial first reactions?
I'll start by saying, like, I sort of blindsided both of them with it, Miguel and Olivia. I've been involved in the tech world for my whole life and very interested in new technologies, especially as they relate to artists. One of the things I did at the beginning of the pandemic was start a platform called Weebid, which people can see at weebid.app, which is a new way for artists to monetize and get to know their fan base in what I believe is a better way, and will grow into a much better way. And so as these technologies, as people who have insight into the music world start to develop these technologies, some of the things bubble up to the surface. And NFTs, it was one of those things that people started talking about, and it piqued my interest because I couldn't really see, I mean, we'll talk about the positives and negatives in it, but I couldn't see a fatal flaw in the manifestation of it. And the upside of it was the creation of something which artists have needed for the last 20 years, which is a form of digital scarcity. Because the digital revolution made it so content can be infinitely replicated. And once artists can have digital scarcity, then our music becomes valuable again. And I say that with the deepest of gravity, because the fact that music was not scarce, the digital files were not scarce, made it practically worthless in the eyes of a lot of people. It's been very hard to make money off of selling music because you can stream it on Spotify, and Spotify just doesn't pay very much when you get a stream, you know.
It's a marketing platform, Greg.
Well, it is now. Now Spotify's a marketing platform. And you say that jokingly, but that's actually what it is. And now that we have NFTs, that's okay. As long as NFTs live, you know, you never know. It's like with Bitcoin, something could break and it could all go down the tubes, but it hasn't broken yet. And as long as it keeps going on the trajectory that it's going, even if it has a dip, which I'm sure will, just like cryptocurrency did, if we keep on this general track, there's an entirely new world for creatives to monetize their work. And creatives have been struggling, especially over the past year, because concerts were our last resort. That was the last thing that we had to make money. And when those went away with COVID, people were put into very dire straits. And now this sort of light at the end of the tunnel that we're seeing with the new technologies that were developed, NFTs, it looks to me like it's going to change the game. It already is changing the game in a gigantic way. I mean, you said Blau, he sold NFTs of his music for like $12 million. One of my friends, Zed, a great DJ, just released his NFTs a few days ago, and in the first 2 hours, I believe it grossed over $1 million. And if artists can make a living by creating assets that can then be traded, that keep their inherent value, it means an entirely new world for creatives. So that's why I said, Miguel and Olivia, we got to do this.
Well, I think it's time. We're going to be talking about all of these larger issues a little bit later on, but how about now we just get into the work? And Miguel, Olivia, you can join us back later. I hope to see your beautiful faces again a little bit later in this live stream, so stick around. But if we don't, that's cool too. Thank you, for presenting this work that we're all about to enjoy.
Thank you, Simon. Great to see you.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Olivia. Okay, so this is part 3. Now, this is the video that was broken into 6 parts for the NFT drop, which you can get on maidenvoyage.io. So here is the 3-minute video.
Yay, you guys. Congratulations. Beautiful work. And yeah, feel proud. You're doing it. Paving a new way for artists hopefully to follow. And, this is really an objective that we're all trying to do, right? Is just enrich the artists that deserve it and that we love, that, right? Like support the arts. I can't think of a better way than something like this. So,
Well, yeah, and also
I would like.
I want to chime in on that for one specific thing that I just want people to understand about NFTs. I'm encouraging the jazz community to get on board with this, because this is not only a way to support the arts, but it's a way to invest in the arts. That's the big difference here, is when you buy an NFT, you can sell that NFT. It's digitally scarce, so it's not going to someone's Patreon and giving them $10. It's spending $1,000 on a work that somebody created that might be worth $10,000 in a few years as that artist grows and becomes more popular. So it's a completely different dynamic. And I should probably show people the NFT page very briefly. So let me just diverge for a second before we go into our next section here, and show the page. This is the OpenSea trading platform. So the auction has started now for these NFTs, and Simon will tell you a little bit more about them specifically in a little bit. But people have started bidding, and the bidding ends tomorrow at 1 p.m. So you can go to maidenvoyage.io, and you'll need a MetaMask wallet, and you bid using Ethereum, which there are instructions on there of how to go through the whole process. And then there are single individual items, one-of-ones, that are available, and then there is the 1,000 copies of the actual album itself, where you can download the record that comes with the 7 separate WAV files and the artwork. So I just wanted to show you that briefly before we go on to this next section, and now I'll circle it back to Simon here.
Yes, so Greg, not only are you messing with people's brains doing this non-fungible token thing, which is confusing all of us and breaking our brains, but you're also dabbling in the virtual reality space with 2 forward-thinking entrepreneurs and all around great guys that I'm bringing into the discussion right now. In fact, I think they'll do a better job of introducing themselves. Will O'Brien and Patrick Booth Jr. of NFT Oasis. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining the party. It's so awesome to have you here. So please say a little bit about yourselves, and tell us what NFT Oasis is.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Will O'Brien, and I'm the CEO of NFT Oasis. I played music my whole life, and music and arts are so important to us. And we feel that this is a very important moment in the music and arts world. I think when we look back at decades of exploitation in the music world, we look back at the last 10 years of the social dilemma and how social media has kind of ripped us apart. And then the last year of COVID, quarantine, social and racial injustice, this is a moment where we're feeling a lot of toxicity. And what brings us out of that toxicity? It's the musicians, it's the artists that change the culture. And what's happened with the Clubhouse effect, right? This app called Clubhouse allows people to get on and listen from their heroes, their mentors, their people that they admire, and break down those walls of communication. And now with this NFT phenomenon, we're leveraging that new communication corridor to create an abundant economy around music and arts, so that people can invest, as Greg said, into the artist, and the non-fungible tokens will retain value and will pour money back into this ecosystem. So we see that the NFT movement is actually fueling this revolution that is going to dawn the new renaissance. And that's what I'm just absolutely thrilled about. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm an angel investor. I've been in the blockchain crypto space since 2012. I was the founder and CEO of one of the early companies called BitGo, and I've invested across the space in a number of projects. And so I've, together with my co-founders, Patrick, and also BT, who is a legendary in the EDM space and film soundtrack artist, Jesse Nolan as well, and Greg Edwards, who is a VR legend who built Burning Man in VR last year with his team. We've come together to build an open format, immersive virtual world called the NFT Oasis, where artists and musicians that are embracing this NFT phenomenon can have a virtual stage and a world where they can hang their art, and they can perform, and they can have fireside chats and conversations with the community to bring life to this movement, to help show what the value is in these NFTs, so that the community can enter either in VR or can watch the party happening, watch the movement happening over live stream like this. And it's very exciting. We want to make this as an opportunity for an abundant, forward-looking ecosystem where the artists reclaim their value in this society, and that people can invest in them. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, Patrick.
Hey everybody, I'm Patrick Booth Jr. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a full stack developer, smart contract engineer, also musician, creative, visual artist as well. And I just love music. I love how it can exist on a decentralized ledger, and people can sort of like not only partake in the sort of listening and sharing of it and generate royalties alongside the artist, but also they can collect artifacts known as these non-fungible tokens and create long-lasting experiences that appreciate in the long term. It's really a beautiful sight to see this, like, you know, renaissance take shape, and these sort of like environments of decentralization come into existence. You know, there are a few metaverses out there. I performed personally inside of like crypto voxels and Decentraland. But I feel like what we're doing at NFT Oasis is providing a much more social, substantial use case around VR applications in a way that just makes sense. And, you know, people can sort of like immerse themselves in the beautiful, heavenly ethos and atmosphere. And I just love the team that we have composed here, and the way that they're just making things happen fast. And, you know, it doesn't feel like a sprint. It definitely feels like a marathon, but like all of our expertises are just meshing and coming together so well. And just, you know, think that what we did with Greg Spero as well was like just the tip of the iceberg. There's more to come, and I really appreciate his artistic value that he's providing to the NFT space with this drop, and that the community should definitely rally around what he's done and continue to lead by example. Greg, we appreciate you, and it's been an absolute pleasure supporting what you're doing. So yeah.
So between the two of you, though, and NFT Oasis, I'm sure a lot of people are still confused what it is and like what is actually capable in this space. So maybe in the context of what happened over 3 nights with Greg, what happened there, if you were to describe it, and what people are about to see, and then what are the plans you have in the future? Like what kind of events and vibes are you going to be kicking soon?
Well, why don't I take you into the Oasis to answer that question? How does that sound?
Let's do it.
So we built the NFT Oasis on a platform called AltSpace. AltSpace is a platform owned by Microsoft, and it's a platform in which you can build open virtual worlds. Can you see me all right?
We see you. There you are.
And you can hear me, right? Fantastic. So welcome to the NFT Oasis. I'm going to fly up a little bit, and Patrick, let's get up here and give him a look. What we built is this utopian gallery in the sky. This is Metatron's cube here. There are 13 gallery nodes here, and each one is dedicated to an artist who is currently embracing the NFT revolution. So I'm going to head over here, Patrick, and let's go take a look at some Beeple art. One of the first things that happened in the NFT world that took storm is that made everyone pay attention to is that there was a $69 million purchase at auction of Beeple's artwork. He had created 5,000 digital illustrations over a period of over 11, 12 years. He consolidated them all into one file that was then sold at auction for $69 million. And the question is, people are asking, why is a JPEG worth $69 million, right? And part of the problem is because we've been living in a flat world for a long time, right? We've been living on websites, we're on Clubhouse. We don't really have the ability in this COVID world and also in just our very global world to get together and understand what the value is. So we built the NFT Oasis. It's a place where artists can come in and display their art and hold meetings and fireside chats and parties and drop parties. So this is a gallery dedicated to a community called the Most Famous Artist. And in this case, they took 50 participating artists of their 500-person community, came and curated together their own versions of Beeple with his permission to put together this kind of tribute to Beeple right before that auction. So this is a community of artists, 500 artists of the most famous artists that are embracing this and finding a way to earn a living and learn from each other. Let's head over here, Patrick. And I'm just going to speed up a little bit. And here's another art gallery. This is a little bit more fine art. You can see that, in here, the ability to get up real close and understand and be in the presence of this art and allow that the artists come here and have a conversation with the community. This is what's possible. We've created an open canvas, fresh blank canvas for people to come and have a social interaction. Here's Greg, our designer. Hey, Greg, wave hello. You can interact with each other with emojis, with voice communication. And we're really building the beginnings of something that is quite special. Last year, Greg and his team and I was supporting them. We built Burning Man in VR. So we took the playa, digitized it, brought it onto AltSpace, and then we empowered a community of creators, some of whom have never worked in 3D before, to build over 200 virtual worlds. And during the Burn Week, when Burning Man was canceled, people came into this virtual playa with 200 virtual worlds. We had over 15,000 unique people in the space, visiting almost 100,000 times. And there was 1,500 hours of DJing, programming, talks, everything you can imagine. So we've learned from that having a social first experience in this immersive world, whether you're joining from your Oculus headset, whether you're joining from a Mac or PC, or whether you're just watching the party on YouTube Live, it's really powerful. Let's go over here. We're going to portal into this amphitheater world here. Follow me in here. And as we're heading over to the amphitheater, what you'll see is another beautiful wall that we've created that's really suitable for open air live events. And specifically, I released my album in January. So what we've done here, just as a showcase, is we've animated me here at the piano playing my album. And you can't hear the music because I put myself on mute from the world. But if you're in this world, you'd be overwhelmed with the music. And this is also a place where, imagine, Miguel, that you're in here performing, and your fans can come in here and actually feel like they're up and close personal with you performing, with Greg and Miguel. And then they can go off to the side and look here at the beautiful sunset. And it's, when we think back about it, we always remember a song that changed our life, brought us passion or art that made us think about something a different way. So we want to create this, we've created this open canvas with the inspiration here that the artists are going to come and fill in. And we're going to be inviting a new artist every day to come into this space, maybe more than one a day eventually, and start to fill in these worlds with their live performances and with community creation. So, we just opened up this world 2 days ago. I'm going to go back into this hub, Patrick, so that we can go into one of the other worlds. We just opened up this world 2 days ago, and it's really taking the storm. The first day, when we had Greg's performance, which I think we'll show a video in a few minutes, we had over 170 people just join us in VR, and many more watching the live stream. And that created a starting point for Greg to talk about his drop and leading up to today's event. Let's go over to this forest world here, Patrick. You can see that there's a serendipity when you walk around, kind of like getting lost in the MoMA, and that's really nice to be able to have one artist in artist collection adjacent to another artist collection. Part of our mission here is to invest in underserved artists. We're going to be launching a minting fund that allows people to apply to get resources and to get mentorship, and we're going to also be providing a lot of information about how to create an NFT. If you're looking for an opportunity to collaborate with another artist, perhaps you're a visual artist like Olivia looking to create work with a musician or vice versa, we want to be the place where you learn how to do NFT. You can do it safely, and then you can you can mint on any of the other platforms, but we're a stage now where you can, in some beautiful world like this, really talk about why you created this art, what it means to you, and what it will mean to a collector. So I think that's a good intro. We have many more worlds that we've created. We're inviting VR and 3D artists to join our community, to build here. We're inviting artists to submit and to come through this, and we will help them with giving them a space, giving them a number of days before their drop, to curate. We invite collaborations. We have some incredible artists coming down the pike, like Imogen Heap is going to be here in a little bit. She's incredible musician and very advanced in technology, music technology. As I mentioned, one of our chief creative officers, BT, who is bringing some incredible soundscapes into here. So I'm very excited what we're doing. It's just the beginning. We welcome collaboration with the whole ecosystem, and can't wait to see you in the Oasis.
There's something really awesome about watching you in 8-bit, I have to say, in VR. It's like a very it's something. It feels just right, if you know what I mean.
It's really powerful what you find in here, because I think there's been decades of VR as kind of a foot fault stumble, right? And the problem with it for so long is that either the systems were so proprietary that nobody could build on top of it. It's just too hard to build and engage the community, and they didn't scale well. They're very costly to scale, or that they're just too cheesy, too flat, browser-based, and there's really no social interaction. And I just have to tell you, Altspace has really hit the nail on the head in that you're just building in Unity. Anybody can learn the tools. We have tool sets. And then when you're in, the eye tracking, the mouth moving, it really feels like you're talking to somebody, especially since we've had such a year in isolation. And I don't think we're ever going back. By that, I mean, we're going to get back. We're going to get vaccines. We're going to have, travel again. But I think what we've done is we've kind of opened the Pandora's box in a positive way, that we now are providing accessibility to artists around the world. Greg was playing a couple nights ago, and we'll hop into that world in a minute. When he was playing a couple of nights ago, there were people from all over the world. From Eastern Europe and from East Asia, all over the world, that came in here and play, and were actually physically in the hall with him when he was playing. So there's an emotional connection that happens over this type of VR, and we see this as an augmentation to the artist's other tools in the artist's belt of screencasting and social media. This is just even more human.
Well, let's watch it, and I'm sure we'll see the people from East Asia watching along with us right now. So let's see Greg in performance in NFT Oasis. What are we about to hear, Greg? What's the song?
So I think I have the full 1 hour show that I just started to dive into right before we started this live stream, but I think I found the part where I go into one of my sort of flagship pieces, a piece titled Find, which is something that I wrote for Spirit Fingers, which I explain a little bit about it in the VR space. But I'll show this video and I'll just kind of like let you dive into this space. It's a little trippy. Just, if you thought that was trippy, try seeing a live piano concert in VR. It was really an amazing experience. Like, it felt like I was in a concert hall performing to people. All the nervousness was the same. So anyway, check this out here. This is myself in the metaverse with the concert. We did 2 concerts last night and the night before that. And I'll just play you a little bit of this. Spirit Fingers. So I'm gonna pull it back here to the Zoom. We could watch. Yeah, that concert's actually up on my Facebook page. So if you want to watch the rest of it, you can go to my Facebook and check out the whole thing.
But just to say, Greg, that after the concert, Simon, I got to tell you that all the people bombed the stage and we're taking photos with Greg, and you can take selfies in the platform. So people are taking selfies with Greg, coming around, asking questions. I mean, it was incredible. It's, people, the human brain just says, this is Greg, this is the piano, I'm there with him. And the same emotional, dopamine, serotonin hits are happening. And it's incredible how people just been locked up and now they got to hear Greg Spero perform live and we're there. Now imagine, the future, the NFT is your ticket to get there and it's personalized as your souvenir on the way out. And now how motivated are you to go help bid up that artist and, help them continue to play? So this is what we're crystallizing in this revolution. Is the NFTs have created a wedge to break into this industry and break it apart and let the artists really win and control their destiny go forward. We'll
do it again. Also, other people who haven't seen it yet, if you follow me on Facebook, I'll be announcing when we do it again, and we're going to do more concerts in the metaverse. And you can also view it even if you don't have a headset. You can view it from your computer. It's just not the same experience.
Cool. Well, I think this is a great transition point now as we come out of the NFT Oasis specifically and just talk about NFTs as it relates to the artist on the ground in the trenches, making the work and just beautifying the world as we know it. So I'd like to bring in our other distinguished voices and guests. Thank you for your patience. Louis Marks from Rope-A-Dope Records. I've always been a fan of his. Welcome him. Oran Etkin, the amazing bass clarinetist, among many other, multi-reedist, I think I should say, composer, educator, we're big fans of his. Thank you both for joining us in this bigger discussion about NFTs. So first of all, I guess you guys were kind of watching what's been going down here. So maybe just some observations first from the two of you on what you guys were thinking.
Oren, do you want to kick it off, or shall I start?
You go ahead. You go ahead and start.
My mind is blown. I spend 13 years and 15 years in the music business so far, and I'm used to being on the leading edge and trying to drag people along with new ideas. And now I'm in the back. Like what NFT Oasis, what Will and Patrick have done here is absolutely amazing. I love the term mixed reality. That's a new one on me. And what hits me is there's a certain fear that goes with this of like what's real and what's not. But I think we're finally at that point where we can stop saying the internet is fake and real life is real life. Like IRL is a term that's just gone now. So those are my first impressions. It's stunning.
Oran?
Yeah, it was really amazing to see how how people can interact there and be in that experience of being in the moment. I own a headset because my girlfriend actually does research on VR in the medical context as a rehab doctor. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to connect with that headset yesterday, so I only saw it in the 2D realm. But even just seeing how everybody can interact and look around and stuff like that, I think there's this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think there's a lot of potential in where this can go. You just see how it can just take off in different directions.
Now I know, Louis, you have some plans in the works regarding an NFT. I just saw the press release come, the first one, I believe. So maybe you'd like to share with our audience what that is and like what's that arrangement like? What were those talks like with Christian McBride and Questlove, I imagine?
I feel like I'm following James Brown on stage right now, but the things that we're trying to put together, the things that I've been focusing on are, I think, a little bit more, I guess now you'd call them traditional use cases, how to tie physical product to NFTs, to tie the existing physical music business to this new world. And the first thing we're doing is repressing, for the first time in 20 years, the Philadelphia Experiment. We really didn't have a lot of conversation with the artists. I chatted with Christian a little bit, but this is a legacy Rope-A-Dope album. It really defines not just musically what we've done over 20 years, but also kind of that independent concept. And it's really funny to go back 20 years and look at, that's one of the first times somebody said, here's some money, go in the studio and make whatever music you like, And now here we are in 2021, and that's pretty much what most people are doing, right? The world has changed, fortunately. But the process is this: we're going to etch the original stamper for the vinyl with a code from the blockchain, and we're going to mint 1,010 NFTs, and then there will be a QR code printed on each vinyl label that will take you directly to collect your NFT, thereby proving that you bought copy 1, copy 2, copy 3, whichever one it is, in order, and verifying it, as an NFT on a regular basis. And a lot of people put out limited edition, 1 of 1,000, but there's really no oversight or particular way to prove that somebody didn't print 1,500 or 1,010 or 1,050. Somebody could press some extras and take them home. So we think that adds value to the album. And I see a lot of companies starting to do this, like Louis Vuitton, because there's worse counterfeiting happening in other products. but I like it because the vinyl collector community is really, really sharp and really strong, and I'm hoping that they'll embrace it.
Oran, when I invited you to this session, you immediately had some questions and I thought maybe you could just pose those questions that you had for me to our audience, to the people here, and hopefully they have some lucid answers for us.
Yeah. So first of all, I see a lot of hope in the NFT, and I think that it's very crucial that we have scarcity in our product. I think that's really important, and I see a huge potential and hope for this. Putting on my skeptic hat, I'd love to pose some questions and get your opinion about this. I was chatting earlier today also with Ben Allison about this, about how the collector's perspective is about how much this piece of music will be worth in the future. So it's speculation. It's speculating on an investment, and that's a very different motivation to purchase something than enjoying the music. And right now, when we had downloads and people, back in, when people would download MP3s, they would download it in order to enjoy the music. And when I look at the art world, for example, you see people buying paintings and for huge sums of money in order to invest in them, and then they just have them locked in their basement somewhere or in a vault somewhere, just as an investment. And it gets away from the notion of, I'm buying this because I love the music. And then that kind of begs the question, are the people who are going to be successful at this, or the people who are going to be able to to make money with this and to draw investors, are those the people who have the best music, whatever that means, best and music, that's not an objective term, but are these people who are going to move people with their music, or are these people who are going to basically, is the music just going to be put aside and the investment potential of return on this be the thing that comes back?
I actually have I have thoughts on that. Mm-hmm. I think the short answer is yes, all of that, and it's good. So it's good that will happen. And the reason that it's different here as opposed to the painting art world is, if I have a song that exists out in the world and it's on streaming platforms, anybody can listen to it. But if I have an NFT of that song, that's the same song that anyone can listen to on the streaming platform. But that NFT is a token on the blockchain denoting that that's the one original piece that I can have for investment purposes, because I believe that song has value. It might be because it has 1 billion streams on Spotify that I feel like it has value. So rather than taking something away from the public and saying, like, I'm going to keep this locked in my basement, an NFT is denoting value of something that exists fully for the public, but it's creating value in a different universe of value. So now you can invest in those same people that everybody else can enjoy, and you can have that intrinsic investment potential of that asset. Like, that's why this is a seismic shift in my mind, because we're creating another whole layer of value. Like, you can look at it metaphorically in a couple different ways, a new universe, a new layer. But it's not the stream. The listening to the music is something you can do either way. It's the ownership of the original piece of that music that is something you couldn't do before, that now you could do with virtually every piece of music. Any artist can mint the original version of their song that can be enjoyed by everybody else, but now has intrinsic value that allows other people to invest in that artist. So it'll empower artists to have more money to do more art and to make a living, so they don't have to go get a day job if they're a great artist. And what Patrick was saying earlier is people are looking for great artists that are undiscovered now for this very reason, because if you buy an early NFT from an artist who's undiscovered and then they blow up, that NFT goes way up in value. So it's a new universe of value and investment.
Absolutely. May I jump in again? I think you bring up some very valid points. And I just love and appreciate this entire space as an ethos. But I realize that most people don't really understand like the aspects of like NFTs when it comes down to royalty rights and people issuing royalty rights for their NFTs on these different smart contract platforms. So there's a way for an artist to either do exclusive listening rights or royalty rights. And the royalty rights pretty much enable people to collect royalties on a specific platform that are like ERC20 based royalties that are backed by KYC, which adds like a ridiculous amounts of liquidity to, let's say, the purchasing power that you generate from your ERC 1155 or 721 NFT itself, right? Which is really powerful. It's like you're creating a realm of passive income, not only for you and your collaborator, but also your investor at the same time. And it's all trustless. And that's literally the most beautiful part about it all, is the fact that Safe Math is enabling all these different royalties to be distributed, all the parties involved, without some clearinghouse, you know, such as your BMI or your ASCAP, your PRO, etc., pretty much having a say or pretty much clearing it. And, you know, it just comes down to sending out a different streaming platform web link to your fan base if you choose to leverage that sort of technology. So.
I'd love to speak to that from a label perspective. I mean, everything that I've seen in the business is that artists are scrambling to find revenue to make music, and then they make a lot of other things in the process, you know, photography, art, videos, social media posts, access via social media. There are hundreds of different sort of creative things that happen around a record release that everyone is creating for free and throwing out there for free. Now we're looking at it, and artists are asking me, you know, what is this NFT space? And I said, you know, we don't know where it's going to go yet. There are going to be those kind of use cases where you'll tie in revenue from streaming services. But my advice to them right now is stop thinking of everything that you do as some sort of promotion for your live shows or for your record sales, and start thinking of it as creative assets. And there are all kinds of things that I think are going to happen. I mean, I'm looking at hundreds of album covers on the wall here. Why are they not NFTs? Why can't someone own the original album cover? All the photos that get tossed out when you do a photo shoot, right? They never exist. Now suddenly an artist has a collection of photos that can be NFTs and sold separately. So there are all kinds of ways to utilize this, including tying royalties back to it. I mean, I think there's going to be a little bit of a battle there with existing streaming services and NFTs about how that all works. But people are going to try new things. We're going to try selling an entire the rights to a song to place in a film or a television commercial or an ad agency as an NFT, and a music supervisor can shop a marketplace and say, yeah, I like these 10 songs. I'll buy them, hold on to them, and then I'll place them in a film later. But it all comes back to the simple thing, is that it's a way for an artist to get money up front to make music, which is what's lacking in the whole label structure right now.
Will, please.
Yeah, I'd love to jump in as well. Great points, and I really appreciate Louis, your comments before. Thanks so much, it means a lot. I look at this, and I've been in the crypto industry for a long time. I've been in technology, Silicon Valley, for a long time. Relatively speaking, I have seen the change of various industries, right? And what we see is this a very consistent change, that we move from monolithic structures to gatekeeping structures to democratization to decentralization. And when the technology keeps up with those changes, it empowers the creators, and the new creator economies become abundant. We've seen this with open source, right? We saw this with Apple's Rip, Mix, Burn, you know, going from albums to tracks to ripping with other things like that. So now with tokenization, with blockchain, with Bitcoin, for example, When you buy Bitcoin, I started buying Bitcoin when it was under $100. When you buy Bitcoin, you're actually investing in the future you want to see, and you're owning a piece of it. Imagine if you could own a piece of the internet in 1993. You couldn't. There was no tokenization of the internet at the time. You could build a company on it. You could invest in stocks. But you couldn't own a piece of the underlying. So now that Bitcoin and Ethereum has started to, get some sense of community, developer community, understanding of how to build this technology at scale and safely, now these other industries are coming in. So the NFT is the tokenization of a variety of derivative works of art, original works of art, that people can invest in to invest in the future they want to see. And in fact, the future that we want to all see is a future where the creators are empowered and that becomes an abundant flywheel. So we have to fund the revolution to get to the Renaissance. And so right now, a collector's mentality is perhaps somewhere, this may increase in value because this is the one of one, but it's also putting money into this future that, like Louis said, now the artist can focus on being an artist instead of merch and all these other side things. Right? And so, and with the derivative and mashups and collaborations, like with Greg and Miguel and Olivia here, now we're going to see innovation. So the innovation cycle from the artist is going to feed back to the technology. And we're going to build better technology, and we're going to build better showcases like the NFT Oasis, and then that's going to feed the innovation cycle back to the artists. So the money going in right now is actually funding the revolution, and I think that's really important to consider.
Well, the first thing that I want to do with all of you is put on the first jazz or jazz adjacent virtual reality festival in the NFT Oasis. Can we make that happen? I'm just throwing it out there.
100%. You got it.
The next question that I have for everybody is more a question of utility, because I feel like in the NFT space, I feel like we are in the Wild West in terms of what we can buy as a unique digital asset. And in Greg's case, he split his one song up 6 times, which to me, as somebody that wants to share one song to an audience, let's say a group of friends, that would be kind of weird playing 1/6 of Greg's songs. Say, hey, I got this Greg Spero NFT I just bought. I'm so proud of it. Let me share it with you. Oh, it's just, but it's only like 1/6 of it. Like, so is that do you guys have any thoughts on that? And in terms of what an NFT's utility value should be in your personal subjective opinions?
NFTs, as they seem to be, as they're being utilized right now, they're seen as these tokens. It's not seen as an entire song. Like the Zed NFT that dropped a few days ago that I was referring to, that NFT, well, there was a series of them and they were 10 to 20 seconds long, and it's an experience. So it's actually an entirely new medium from a song. If you want to listen to the song, you can hear the song and you can go onto Spotify and hear the entire part 3 that was made into these NFTs. So the actual reasoning for them being in this form is because it is a new form factor. Now, in this particular piece of art, that the drawings that Olivia Hern made were sectioned into these very compelling little miniature pieces, and you see these in the NFTs. If you go to maidenvoyage.io, there's one that has a specific character doing a specific thing, and it transitions into something else of a specific character doing a specific thing, and that has synergy directly with the music that Miguel and I were playing, not because we tried to make it in these little chunks, but because those were the pieces that we were speaking.
I'll just say this, like, as a person that wants and has invested in Greg's work personally, and from my point of view as a fan and a customer, I would have rather had like a fraction of a full song rather than a fraction of a song. And this was always a conversation that I've always had with Greg in terms of this. And this goes in terms of just like value in general, because there's a lot of like, Rob Gronkowski putting out his NFTs with Bleacher Report. Come on, right? Like how could that possibly be good for what we're doing.
I see this as an evolution, and I look back at the early days of the internet, and there were a lot of useless things happening in the early days of the internet, you know, that didn't settle out and didn't become the whole landscape. I think it's a challenge. You know, we have to develop good, realistic use cases and represent artists, you know, and take this opportunity to put as much of the quality and jump into the space as much as we can. So there's a sense of urgency around that, but there's always going to be the hype, and then there's always going to be the quality, and people are going to develop things as they go. So for me, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I think there will be more balance in the NFT world between that hype and the quality music than there is in the digital music world. You know, from pop music down to jazz, right? So it's going to equal out, but we have to do the work. So the more part of it is nobody's really doing a lot of it yet. Greg's leading here in a lot of ways, you know, and so we just have to get in the ring.
Well, it's also the fact that the NFT exists means that it will be used for myriad different things. Music, and when you talk about sports cards being NFT'd, you're looking at the world of general collectibles. Like, it's not, I don't think it's a negative that I can have a sports card that's worth something. And I think that putting that on the blockchain and allowing that to exist out into something that can be more easily traded globally without having to ship it is actually, it's great. That has very little to do with music. Music is one of the use cases for non-fungible tokens. And that one use case in the context of the music industry is that which is allowing for the investment in an individual artist, maybe even before that artist is known, in this micro way that was never possible before. So the fact that that exists is amazing, and it's going to be used in all sorts of different ways. I don't really care that the football player is selling his or the NBA Top Shots or whatever. That's great for sports people, and I'm sure that sports people are getting a lot of fun out of that. But that doesn't mean that the technology is just for that. And these use cases that we're looking at in music are of gigantic significance for individual creatives.
Patrick,
Absolutely.
Go for it.
I really want to touch base on the utility side of things, and then I'm just gonna fall back a little bit, because this is a really touchy subject that I really look forward to creating curriculum around within the Oasis, because there's just so many different mint factories and so many different use cases an artist can just come up with for their customized NFTs. There's a way for you to make a wallet out of your artwork, out of your music, and literally bake in your social token and your favorite cryptocurrency projects that you love, and then also imbue it with a proton that gives it percentage rate for not only you, but also the person that buys your artwork from you. It's incredible. It's like yield farming with your artwork. You know, there's various forms of just having certain aspects of, let's say, for instance, an immersive 3D piece of artwork that knows where you are on the world and what the weather's like. You know, it puts itself to sleep. It can sing happy birthday to you. This is something that a few of my colleagues are working on right now, you know, and there's just so much utility within this space, and it's just so powerful to witness. And, you know, I can't wait to just share all the possibilities, the limitless possibilities of this technology with the rest of the world. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say about it.
I wanted to raise the point related to this that we've touched on a little bit, which is about royalties, and also about what the ownership of an NFT means relative to the ownership of the master rights of the recording. So, for example, if you place one of your songs, say I buy an NFT and then you place one of your songs in a movie, do I get back some of that benefit from that payment that you got for the master rights, and how are royalties related to this NFT ownership?
Hey, Lewis, do you want to field this one or do you want me to?
I'll jump in if you don't mind.
Great.
It was best explained to me by a developer that we're working with, is that, you know, the rights to the music are governed by existing law, and that will continue, because you're not really buying the music. You're buying you're buying a certificate, and that certificate can be encoded and contracted any way you want. So you can simply say, here's your certificate that you've got the first copy, the first digital copy, or you can say, here's a certificate that gives you the right to claim 20% of royalties or use it once in a film or television. Or I saw an artist sold his entire song. He wrote a song, he recorded it, he sold the publishing rights and the master use rights for eternity, and earned $37,000. You know, so whatever level, there's a lot of thinking that has to go into exactly what you want to give away when you sell an NFT, but you can set it up pretty much any way you like, and it's permanently recorded as that's what you sold.
Greg, do you mind sharing what you have set up with these NFTs on Maiden Voyage in terms of royalties?
Well, so these are not royalty sales NFTs. What Lewis was describing is that you can structure the sale of the NFT to include either the NFT itself, or that and a combination of some sort of publishing rights or some sort of the rights. You can include rights to the master.
Master rights. Yeah.
And so what these NFTs are simply art pieces. This is a piece equivalent to a painting that you would hang on your wall, where the person who made the painting can still do prints of the painting and have them out. That's the equivalent of the streaming on Spotify as far as it relates to these musical pieces. So when you purchase this NFT, you're not going to make money on, you know, if it gets placed in the movie, you don't get a piece of the royalties from the placement of the movie. But what does happen is if it gets placed in a movie, that NFT likely increases in value because of its placement in the movie, and therefore can accrue value that way.
So I had the same question as Oran, but it wasn't answered as in depth as I'm looking for. So I'm mostly a composer, multi-instrumentalist, and I make a large amount of my income via licensing. And so I understand, I'm just getting hip to NFTs. This is the most education I've received so far on it. And thank you so much for putting this together today. This is fascinating. I'm very interested. I understand you're buying a certificate. I can wrap my head around that. In terms of the ownership of a master versus publishing, you know, being a composer, you know, I'm the person that's composing a song that's akin to publishing. And so my question is, how does ownership of an NFT influence composition or the publishing side versus the master? Is it going to have, there's going to be some situations you're saying where it will influence besides, I guess it was Greg that said it's awareness. I understand. Besides raising awareness directly, how will someone that owns an NFT of a recording, how does that directly influence the business of the composition and ownership of a master in relation to a publishing company?
I think that you can look at the current situation. So you can sign a deal with a record label to license your masters, and you can sign a deal with a publishing company to license your publishing. They each have their ways of collecting money and bringing it back to you. You could do a deal with a record label and they would say, I want to own the masters and I'm going to give you X amount of money as an advance. And then they would own the copyright. So there are a lot of ways to break up ownership in the existing system. So all of those ways exist in a blockchain system, in an NFT. It's a question of you deciding what you want to sell, what rights you want to grant, and what that value is. And it's going to come back to, it's all really about cash flow. You know, it's about how much money do you want to get up front. NFTs are a way to bring that money up front. Secondarily, I would say that you could also view an NFT just in its very simplest form as a collector's item, a signed copy of something, right? You're putting something out for people to hold on to, and you don't have to give away any rights at all. As Mike Winkelman just proved. So does that answer your question?
That helps a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I just want to layer on top of that a little bit. There's you can bake in whatever rights you want into an individual NFT, and the benefit to that is that, well, one, you can cut back on lawyer fees if you do it through the blockchain. Like, imagine if you wanted to offer up the publishing to 10 of your tracks, and you said, I would be willing to sell publishing, or 50% of the publishing of each of these tracks for $10,000 each, or something like that. You could do that using the blockchain in a smart contract, so that that person who buys it is guaranteed of the proof that they own the 50% for giving you the money that they're giving you, and it's much more secure for them. Whereas before this, you would have had to go to a lawyer and say, I need you to draw up this contract for me to give away my publishing in exchange for this money, and then have the transaction using the existing legal system, which is terribly inefficient. So and when you do that, and then you can have a sellable asset as an NFT to do that, it makes it easier to market that as well.
I'd like to throw a little story in there. Before the printing press, before contracts, the method of doing a deal was to bring together 100 people from the village, and the two parties would say out loud exactly what they were doing to create a transaction. And then 100 people would verify and go, yep, that's exactly what I heard. That's it, right? So that was your public record of what's happening. So then blockchain is kind of exactly that, only in a digital way.
That's so good. Yeah, that's an exact analogy.
All right, just jump in.
Yeah, so getting back to Miguel's unique situation as a composer, if I understand correctly, since your NFT can be a piece of artwork representing a song, not necessarily that song. Say Miguel were to compose a song for a huge pop artist. That song blows up. That pop artist could sell an NFT with that song attached to it. But Miguel could sell, for example, a photo of his original manuscript for that song. So he doesn't need to own the masters in order to benefit from that song and make money from it, even as an owner of the publishing or the composer. Is that correct?
This is where you get into some real gray area. And I don't think that attorneys know the answers to these questions yet. As a record label guy, I mean, we need to know, because then anyone could theoretically put their art to one of the songs that we have under license and sell it, and not give any money to the artist. So that's the next copyright battle that I think is brewing.
And the NFT is attached to the audio of that song?
Yes, if you put.
Because what I was saying, he could just have a visual NFT, which is just his first draft of when he was working on the song.
Yep, he could do that. That would be within the realm of possibility without any gray area. The gray area would come in when the audio gets attached to it. The question is who owns the audio rights to do that in the first place, and that's where I think a lot of people are going to end up suing each other over the next 5 years as this blows up, and eventually there will be a legal structure that comes out of those battles.
I think it's probably the owner of the masters.
I think at present it would fall into the category of a synchronization license. So if a lawyer were to say today, okay, I used some visual medium and I used your song, whether it's the song, the publishing, or the action, and I used your master, let's say, did I just do create the same thing as a TV commercial, and where I used your song, or a film where I used your song. So I think it falls in that category right now, but there's no definition in sync contracts of an NFT, right? It's not there. So everybody's kind of call it a sync license, which is fairly well protected, but somebody's going to try otherwise. You know, back in the early 80s, there were analog rights. So you owned the copyright, you owned the master, and then CDs came along, and some smart person at Rykodisc said, well, nobody owns digital rights at this point, so I'm just going to go ahead and do deals with all these major label artists and get sued. And he won. You know, so digital rights and analog rights are two different things at this point. The question is, to me, is whether NFTs are a separate thing or if they just fall into existing law in that way.
So I believe that the existing laws were just sort of like beefed up recently with the DMCA pretty much making it a felony offense to violate somebody else's rights. So yeah, definitely people need to tread carefully in this space, but also just sort of find a way to get yourself into a position where you're automatically generating royalties from the sale of other people's intellectual property. Find a way to negotiate current contracts if they are going to be minting NFTs on behalf of your compositions, because like that's another form of income. And just have that sort of relationship and rapport. Reach out to those artists and just make sure that you are a part of that multi-signature deployment whenever it is minted. So yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
I'm going to wrap it up with just one more bigger question. And this is probably in the wheelhouse of, again, Patrick and Will, and maybe Lewis too. But do you see all music in the future being released as NFTs? Is that 10 years from now, are we just going to be buying NFTs instead of downloading music on iTunes or whatever, or Spotify?
I think even the stems, how they're going to be distributed to engineers, are going to be tokenized assets. Nonetheless, just like what the public is going to be hearing, I think these contracts are robust and they're lucrative as well. They provide a revenue stream that's unprecedented, that people probably haven't seen before ever in the ethos of the internet. So I don't necessarily think it's going away, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case.
I think Patrick makes a good point about the stems. I think the entire system can benefit from tokenization. All of the areas, we can just look point by point at areas of inefficiency, at areas of exploitation, areas of unfairness, and by bringing in this technology with a better design, we can reward the artists, and the labels have a role, the streaming services have a role, everybody has a role, but we can better balance it out for overall. I think the NFT moment right now is about infusing capital and creativity into the ecosystem, and from there we'll reach some normalization in 5 to 10 years about how we experience it. Like Lewis said, I've always said blockchain will be successful when it's invisible. I think Lewis, you alluded to that before. That right now we're in the tech introductory phase, but ultimately it'll be successful when we're not talking about NFTs, but the system is just working that much more beautifully because of the innovations that have occurred over this time period.
Yeah, and
I agree. In the future, everything will be tokenized. Everything in the entire world will be tokenized. Every part on your car, every piece of music, everything.
Lewis, I'd love to wrap with you more on this topic. I love your points so much.
Great. Looking forward.
Well, thank you all for joining us for this conversation, and I hope to speak to you all very soon.
Thank you, Simon Rentner, for hosting this for us. It was such a pleasure to be here. I'll let all of our Zoom guests say their goodbyes, and then I'll just walk you through the maidenvoyage.io site one last time before we go. So, thank you, Oran, Will, Patrick, Lewis. I'm putting up the full on Zoom here. Anybody have any other things that they want to say? And Olivia, you're there in the corner. You've been a little quiet, but yeah, this has been amazing. I really appreciate you being a part of this.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
So now I'm going to go into my web browser here. By the way, we called it Maiden Voyage as obviously an homage to one of my greatest inspirations. But in addition to that, it's on OpenSea. So it is our maiden voyage into what we have discovered so far as to be the first jazz NFTs. So they're on auction now. You can go to maidenvoyage.io to get them for the next 22 hours. Yeah, because it's been 2 hours. And the auction ends tomorrow at 1 p.m. We'll also be doing some Clubhouse talks talking about these NFTs, and you can go in there and see. You can see the actual NFT here. See, sale ends tomorrow. You can click on that, and it'll show you the specific piece here, which is a 23-second piece. Which is one of the scenes from the Atwood-Ferguson Spero duets. So it's sort of a loop there, and you can see what it's bid up to so far, and then you can place your bid if you're not the owner of it. I'm the owner of it. There are 3 NFTs that are being auctioned that are one of one, so only one of these exists in the entire world and ever will, and so those will be auctioned for the next 22 hours or so. And then there's one here that is one of 10, so there will be 10 of these that are sold. One was sold already, so that costs 0.33 Ethereum. This is all being sold in Ethereum, by the way, so you'll have to get a MetaMask wallet and use that to bid. And then the actual album itself is 0.03 Ethereum, which is about $63 now. And there are a total of 1,000 of those that exist right now, and a couple people have bought them already. So you're welcome to come here and use your MetaMask wallet to get this, and it comes with the full 7-part improvisation as WAV files and the continuous improvisation as a single WAV file. So that.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks for talking about the details of. I think it's best for you to break that down. I felt like so. I'm very glad that you did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for hosting this. This was awesome, and I look forward to diving more into NFTs with you and with your podcast and everything that you're doing. And it's a wild world, and we're just at the very beginning of it, especially for the jazz community.
Yeah, man, and good luck out there creating your wallet. I just did that recently, so it's a whole You'll be learning a lot as you delve into this universe, I assure you. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and enjoy the music and animation.
All right. Thanks, Simon. Simon Rentner, everybody. All right. Catch you all later.